Introducing my new 3D printed modular utility belt system. So, this project started out with a problem. I've been wearing these grimy, nasty work pants every day, and I just couldn't be bothered to change them in the evenings because it was just too much work to unthread the belt, to swap my EDC pouches off, and then thread it onto a new pair of pants after I was done that. Just too much trouble, so I wouldn't do it. But when I told my mom about that habit, she didn't think it was a great idea to be wearing these pants all the time. So I started thinking about that, and it brought to mind an old idea that I'd had, but I'd never actually worked it out. So the idea was for a 3D printed belt system where you could just easily clip accessories on and off without having to unthread the whole belt. I like the idea for two reasons. One, it would solve the fashion problem, even though I didn't really care about that one. But it also would introduce a lot of really cool options for other accessories. So I got to work and I modeled this first version of a belt design. So this version was really satisfying to use and felt very secure. You just thread this part onto a belt, then slip the accessory on like that, pull it down, and it's locked on. Then you just press this button on the back to release the latch, and you can pull it up and off. There's just one problem. It was bulky. The minimum thickness of the clip part, before any accessory was added, was 13.3 millimeters. When you think about adding a pouch on top of that, it gets pretty big pretty fast. Got to the point where just wearing this on my belt and then putting a seatbelt on over top when I was driving, that just got to be intolerably uncomfortable. I was pretty disappointed to realize that this wasn't going to be a system I could put up with day to day, but before long I came up with a better idea. So this time, instead of having a peg protruding from the belt pad, like on V1, I would make the pad itself be the peg. It's that profile up here. So this had the added advantage of making the pad itself a good bit more compact, without that protruding. But the main thing was that it allowed me to make the accessories plate as thin as could be structurally sound. So the old one was that big there, but the new one is as thin as I could make it, which I decided 3 millimeters was a good dimension for that. So, yeah, I wasn't able to use the same latching mechanism where it would go on and then slide down. So instead we had to go with one where you would put the top clip on, and then you would tilt this down over this clip here. So it just works like this. And you just push this button here to release the clip, and you can take it off. So you've also got this profile here and here that limits the amount of rotation it can do. So that's as far as it'll go before kind of popping off. So yeah, depending on the accessory, you can also change the length of this bar so it interferes with this kind of ovalish shape at different points. And then I've also made a couple other accessories that have this full profile in the middle and then an edge on it. So you can clip them on and then they just don't rotate really at all. So as far as the strength of the clip goes, I've never had either of my two EDC pouches randomly fall off in the months or so I've been wearing them. I have had them fall off if the pouch gets caught on something, or if I run or jump. But in the first case, it's honestly probably safer to have it pull off on its own rather than try to pull you with it. And in the second case, you probably don't even want to be wearing this while you're running. So the fact that you have a nice clip system and you can just take it off is probably a better option. So the goal with this project was to make a system that other people could add on to with attachments for different things people might want to belt carry. I mean, after all, I don't know the exact dimensions of every multi-tool, knife, or headphones case, or power bank that you might use. I'm sure I haven't even thought of every good use for a system like this. So to help that happen, I'll be sharing Fusion 360 files for both this base version of the system here, and then also for each of the accessories I've developed. So now let's go into all the things I've actually designed so far, for your use or just inspiration. So this is just the basic belt pad. I've already showed it. It's the core of the system. It fits belts up to 35 millimeters in height. This is another pad design, but it's got a double-sized gap in it, which means that you can basically tuck a belt back into it, like this here. So if, like me, you can't find belts short enough for you, and you have a long tail, you can just tuck it in there. So this is a pad that I made that was designed to fit onto my tool belt, like that there. Could probably use some refinement. It kept falling off when I was working, and it would obviously be a different design depending on the actual tool belt that you're using. But I found it pretty nice to be able to just clip my EDC pouches onto my work belt instead of having them just awkwardly underneath the belt all the time. So these here are some wall-mounted pads I've made, so they can just mount onto a piece of wood or whatever, a wall, using 2 screws. So just allows you to have storage for when you're not actually using accessories, because with this system you can have a lot of accessories that really aren't for everyday use. So it just works like normal. Just clip your tools on and off of the rack, and then have them there for storage. So this is the clip I made for my first EDC pouch. So this pouch, the pretty cheap one, I just removed the strap because it was broken anyways. And I just put this on, it mounts up flush, and I was using aircraft style stainless steel wire. I just drilled some holes in the pouch itself and just threaded it through the edges of the clip and twisted them up, and it's a nice secure mounting. So I have this stuff on me at all times. So this is a clip for my Leatherman pouch. So much nicer leather pouch, and the strap for it was kind of integrated with the top here, so I didn't want to just remove it. So I've designed a slightly thicker clip that kind of fits over the strap. And then it also mounts with wire, so I drilled a couple holes down there, and then just through these rivets turned out to be a good spot to drill. So again, nice secure mount. So this is a flashlight holster for this generic Amazon flashlight I have. It's got a TPU holster part here to keep it from breaking, because it can just squish, and then a PLA clip, and there's just this groove that it slots into. Throw the flashlight in, throw that on your belt, and you're good to go. This is the case that I made just for these generic headphones I have. Probably none of you have this exact model of headphone, but it shows you what can be done. Just throw that on your belt. This is one for a generic little power bank I have. It's in the single 18650 cell format. That kind of thing. You can probably find one similar size. It's not a huge power bank, you're not going to charge a ton off of it, but it's a little reserve power you can just throw on your belt. This pouch here is probably one of my favorite accessories, since it can turn a normal belt into something that's a lot closer to a construction tool belt. It saved me a lot of discomfort this one day when I was insulating last summer, because the only tool I actually needed from my big belt was a tape measure, and just clipping this on was way lighter and cooler than having a full belt on. I've also used it to just carry bits and parts while working on my car, and I expect to find lots more uses for it in the future. It's got the same base part as the flashlight holster in PLA, and then just a different TPU part slotting into it. It's flexible, so it shouldn't break under if you push up against something while you're wearing it. This magnet pad is a pretty simple one, just a few little magnets glued into it. You can carry bits or small bolts or parts or whatever. It's just nice and compact. I also used it as a doorstop in the steel frame of my apartment building just to keep it from locking when I was expecting guests. That's really not what it's designed for. It's designed for your belt. So this is a clip that I made to match up with a phone case clip that came with my generic OtterBox clone phone case. I haven't been using this on my belt. If I had a smaller phone someday, it might be more realistic to do. The design's also not perfect. I should probably have some kind of heat set inset in here to keep this screw actually tight. But it's just an idea of what you could do with it. Thanks for watching. I've had a lot of fun developing and using this system, but I hope that some of you guys will use the Fusion files and expand it to more accessories, and then share those with others.